Hello everyone, this is Jed Schlackman, and for this video I'll be speaking about an experience I had recently at a group healing event. This was the Star Magic with Jerry Sargeant group healing. I went to this here in Miami, so he's traveled to different cities to provide these kind of large group healing sessions. The session is approximately 6 hours in length. The one I went to kind of went somewhat over 6 hours if you include the time where he was giving people an opportunity to share or ask questions and for him to share some additional thoughts about things. So it's kind of a full day almost of this group healing, and I'll go through kind of the basic sequence of what occurs and my thoughts and impressions of my own experience and the whole process of how this is set up, what are the pros and cons and so on. So when you sign up for this, when you register, when you pay to reserve your space at the event, you're given a set of instructions for preparation. So part of the instructions include, for the day of the event, you are to abstain from eating food, so you're fasting that day. And you're to go there traveling lightly, bringing as little or a few items with you as possible, so maybe just a bottle of water if you want, but not to bring a bunch of stuff there. Also to avoid wearing any cologne or perfume, since most of those are actually made using some type of unhealthy, toxic kinds of chemicals. And if you're going to a place to cleanse and detox in some way, you don't want to be breathing in something that's toxic. As part of the actual event, there is actually a natural scent that's used. So they go around the circle of people and use Palo Santo to do a quick spiritual cleansing, in a sense, before they start out. So going back to the preparation, there's also a set of audio recordings that are recommended from the Star Magic meditation library that you can access by paying a fee for membership on his website. And those recordings are both guided meditations and just musical selections with music and no verbal guidance. So he instructs those intending for a week or more in advance to be listening to those particular audio tracks to help prepare. There is also a post-event selection of audios that are recommended that's sent to you the day after the event. So there is somewhat of a preparation and follow-up process in that regard, but otherwise there isn't really much contact with Star Magic or Jerry beyond what you're experiencing in the event. So there isn't like a pre-screening process where you discuss with someone what your goals are for attending, what your situation is, whether or not this is a suitable event for you. That's not something that's brought into the equation in advance. There is just a written form that you have to go to on the website to read and sign, kind of like a waiver or release form. So that's a legal protection for them in case any issue or problem comes up from your experience. You kind of relieve them of any liability or responsibility. So it's kind of on you to determine in advance that this is something that's suitable and safe for you to participate in. So that's something I would point out for you to consider if you're looking to attend this or any other type of kind of intense healing event where things could be pretty challenging or rough in some manner as you're going through a healing process. Is this something you're ready, prepared for? Do you have resources to support you as you process any physical or emotional clearing or detoxification? So you're not getting like this ongoing, continuing therapy or coaching. You're just here signing up to attend an event where there's some pretty deep, intense release processes that are being activated. So for those that may or may not be familiar with Jerry Sargeant, you can read his books. He's written multiple books. Probably the more comprehensive one is the one about activating your superhuman potential. And in that book, you'll see descriptions of the actual processes that are applied during the group healing event. So the breath work, the guided meditations, the energy channeling that's done. So all of that's in some way mentioned in the book that he's written. So he has a very unique, colorful kind of background, and his sort of activation and awakening toward his healing skills and path came about in part from an accident he was in where he describes witnessing someone's spirit as it left the body, and also a UFO and ET contact event where he describes being brought to another star system and meeting beings from Lyra who provided some of what has become his healing method. So he works a lot with frequencies, with codes, with sacred geometry, color, with light language, which is kind of like the type of language that would be spoken by ETs essentially, or non-physical beings perhaps. So it's not earth languages, but other languages. So he channels some of that kind of stuff. But part of what he's doing is just connecting with people's energy or their energy hologram per se, and transmitting frequencies that provide some sort of catalyst or support for you to use for your healing. So ultimately we're all self-healing. There are some people that provide some pretty powerful resources or frequencies that we can access to help in our healing process. But it's pointed out that ultimately it's up to us. It's what we put into the process, our willingness, our discipline and dedication to our own healing. So in the group healing event, after some introductory things, he goes into guiding those participating into the breathwork practices, and this includes a fire breath. So those that are familiar with yoga have probably come across that type of breathing. There's also a trauma breathing method, breathing out through the mouth, and the breathing is always going down deep into your stomach, to your diaphragm, down in a way toward the perineum. There's also a breath where you have your tongue on the roof of the mouth and you're tightening the perineum and you're bringing energy up to your third eye. So that's helping activate the third eye, the higher vision. So there's a lengthy period of time in the group healing where those participating are doing these breaths themselves after initially being guided through it by Jerry. So you're doing this for a while and it's really kind of charging up your energy system. It's bringing all this energy in and through your body, through your aura. So the energy is building, but it's quite intense if you're not used to doing much breath work or much physical exercise where you have to breathe a lot. It's an adjustment. It could be somewhat challenging. If people have certain types of health issues, this could be quite challenging, and it could be something I feel contraindicated for some people depending on their health issues. So I think those running this or other types of healing events where these types of intense processes are employed would want to be sort of cautious about screening people, making sure that someone doesn't come there who's not able to actually benefit from these techniques, or someone who might actually have an adverse effect at that time from doing certain types of techniques. So healing work, in my view, is not one size fits all. There are many practices and methods out there that are going to help a lot of people, but there will be certain people who are not suitable at a particular time, or perhaps in general for that person to be doing. So there can be a risk in trying to say that something is going to be valuable for everyone, when for some people or sometimes it might not be. It might actually create some type of harm or injury. So that's something I put in there as a little critique, not just about this healing event, but many other healing events that are out there in the marketplace. There are people who are very gung-ho and excited about the resources that they're offering and how it can help people, but sometimes they're not recognizing the limitations, the situations where there might be a risk involved. So moving on past this breathwork part of the sequence, the next step is for Jerry and his assistant facilitators, people also working with him, to run energy from the base of the skull up through the third eye. So they go around one at a time to each person, placing their one hand there underneath the skull and then the other hand up here. And they're running energy frequencies, and this is to kind of help clear and or at least initiate a clearing or release of whatever things are coming up that need to be processed and let go of for your healing. So we all carry all kinds of trauma, all kinds of energetic debris and baggage, all types of pains and past injuries and past emotional wounds. All of that is all there in our aura, our energy field. It's held in a way by the cells. Our physical body is connected with that energy. So first, by doing the breathing part, the breath work, running all that breath and energy through, it helps bring a lot of that up to the surface. Now that it's more up on the surface, you can start to run these frequencies through to help kind of further ignite this release process. And so once that energy running there through the head occurs, it's also designed to help the person kind of let go, like mentally and physically, so that you literally let yourself fall into the arms of the facilitator so they can lay you back on the ground. So that's this next step, bringing everyone to drop down onto the ground. And then when you're there, they're doing some more energy work on all the people going around to do further assistance for clearing. And there's also a playlist of different spiritual music in the room in the background, which is also a resource to help us kind of connect with whatever emotional trauma we need to release, and to connect with the positive, loving, healing, harmonizing energies that are meant to be received. So it's clearing out the density and filling us up with love and light, so to speak. So that's the overall sequence, and it's done in a couple different sessions or periods of time during the whole event. So there's the first half, or first portion, where that whole sequence is played out. Then there's a short break, and then everyone comes back and goes in for a whole nother round. And for many people, I think the ongoing process of releasing helps them get deeper and bring up even more trauma or more in-depth energy stuff that needs to clear out. So there's a lot of potential for releasing, for catharsis. Many people are shaking and trembling and crying and screaming. There was one person who for a certain period of time was letting out a lot of screams. So this is kind of deep release work. It accesses different forms of trauma energy. And when you do this kind of stuff, you can be kind of raw and open afterwards. It's kind of like you've unleashed Pandora's box sometimes. So once the valve is open, you don't so easily control what starts to come out. And that's why I think it's important for people to have some preparation or resources for ongoing healing work afterwards, which could be coaching, it could be psychotherapy, it could be other forms of energy healing or meditation support. So this isn't a one and done kind of thing, it's part of an ongoing process in your personal journey. And people who are kind of in a precarious, sort of emotionally delicate state to begin with could be vulnerable to having significant, let's say, negative after effects from doing healing work. So if you're not really ready for it, there is some risk involved, so you really want to be fully ready to fully embrace this process so you don't kind of get stuck in a traumatized state where you haven't completely released some things and you're not like centered and grounded and brought back into balance afterwards. And it could take time afterwards with this type of process to kind of get settled and cleared and balanced again. Your emotional body, your physical body, those can be in this detoxification process, which could take some time. So you might be feeling some symptoms for a day or two afterwards, even a week or more afterwards. Some form of clearing can be happening. For me, it felt very energetically intense. It felt like there was emotions coming up from, I wasn't really consciously aware of what. It's just like raw energy, raw emotion that your physical body has been holding, and it starts to release it. And I'm sure each person has their own unique experience. Some people it's very subtle, some people it's very intense. This is how energy healing work tends to be. I found that because of the length of time, this is about 6 hours altogether, it tends to get very intense and deep. So it's kind of hard to compare to other events or modalities, since things kind of depend on those other variables, such as the length of time that you're doing something, your own readiness at the time you're doing it, the power of the energy of the healing practitioners or facilitators. So all of those variables are relevant. I felt at this event that the guide, the facilitator of this event, does have powerful capabilities for working with energy, for activating healing processes. He's very charismatic, very engaging in some ways. I do feel that at times he makes some kind of flippant or careless comments in the way he addresses some topics. And after the event, I feel overall it was beneficial. I feel many people can benefit from this type of healing work, and also from the library of meditation exercises that he offers. So there's a lot of valuable stuff there. You can kind of pick and choose what you feel resonates with you or what works for you. Not everything might seem resonant for you. He uses different forms of imagery and colors and crystals and magical beings and all of this kind of stuff in the meditations. So you can find the ones that you like. I do feel that it's a little pricey for a lot of people. There's the cost of the event, and then if you decide to purchase a website membership to access audio recordings, there's a monthly fee for that, and it's in British denomination in pounds. So if you're American, you'd have to calculate the dollars, which can change as the currency exchange rates vary. So it's something you can look into more. You can research it. You can consider the pros and cons, determining if this is something that resonates with you or if it's the right thing at the right time, so to speak, for what you're looking for in your healing process at the moment. And if anyone wants to contact me with any private questions or discussion about these processes or my experiences, you're welcome to do that. My website is phinsights.com. That's PHINSIGHTS.com. I want to thank you for taking your time to watch the video, and for now I want to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.